our next segment, which has been a favorite point of discussion, specifically with the introduction of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot. It's everywhere, right? Everyone's talking about it. Of course, I'm talking about artificial intelligence. And in this session, we're going to focus on how AI can be utilized in the home and at work to enable and empower women. Oh yeah, industry leader Sheila Lirio Marcelo, who has more than 20 years of experience in internet consumer marketplace businesses, including being co-founder and CEO of Ohai AI. It's a cutting-edge technology a cutting-edge technology startup that leverages generative AI to improve the lives of families. So we have a short clip about Ohai AI.
We do.
Yes, we're still going to play that, right? Okay, and we're gonna chat right after there, Sheila. Thank you.
We started Proof of Learn with the concept of providing accessible education to all on next-gen jobs, and blockchain being one of the hottest because it was at the peak of Web3 when we started. March of this year, the team presented to me the next course that we were going to roll out on intermediate AI, and it was about task completion. And so I paused and I said to the team, could we build something for families using this technology? They all looked at me and they're like, what are you thinking? I said, I don't know. For 14 years that I founded and ran Care.com, one of the biggest problems we haven't addressed is how families, and especially moms on unpaid labor, get help to get her stuff done, because so much of her day is really taken beyond her work day, because it's also work to take care of a family. And that led to the founding of Ohai. Now we're rolling out a new product, and we landed there. It's not like we were on the hunt for it, but it's my next venture into Care 2.0.
Thank you. Back in her seat, Sheila Lirio Marcelo. Good morning
to you. Ginger. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Thank you for having me.
Can I just say how much this speaks to me? I mean, I mentioned it.
Do you have kids?
I have kids.
How
yes.
old?
They're 5, 4, and almost 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a house full. Wow.
It's a miracle.
You're getting clapping.
I want to get tips on how to survive. And if AI can be my next best friend, sign me up.
It is. It can be. Can be. Yes.
Talk to me about how this is really going to not only empower women at home, but also professionally. Sheila, take it away here.
I think before that, though, and I was actually surprised about the video. Just a quick storytelling of how I'm back here on stage. So honestly, exited Care.com at the height of the pandemic, February 2020, and a lot of people know my story. I got pregnant in college. My father fell backwards carrying our youngest son up the stairs, and so I called myself paninied or sandwiched. In my 30s, trying to struggle finding care for my family. So, of course, inspired me to start Care.com. Those 14 years were really hard. First-time CEO, immigrant, minority, raising money. And it's personal to me because I remember in 2013, September 2013, Dado and Maria actually flew out and spent Labor Day weekend with my husband and I, and was just coaching us personally on what it meant to be the second Filipino to take a company public, my friend. What did that mean? And he said, just don't F it up. Just make sure that you're always taking care of your family, prioritize, don't get full of yourself. Lots of incredible life advice. So I took it public, ran it for 7 years as a public company, and it was hard, really, really, really hard. I say that because then in February 2020, I thought I'd take a year off, which I did. And I became a venture partner at NEA and decided that I'm done with care. I'm so tired of it. I've done it with my career. Like if a bus hit me today, I feel like I've led a purpose-driven life and helped millions of families. I don't need to do it again. And then lo and behold, I'm doing a blockchain company, Ginger, and in EdTech in the Philippines and in India, traveling all around the world. And then my team showed me, as you heard in the video, showed me this new technology that we were teaching intermediate generative AI to complete tasks for developers. And I don't know, something just came into my heart again, and I looked at them and I said, well, what if we did it for families? So what was speaking in my heart again was Care 2.0. And here I was, convinced myself during the sabbatical that I was done with care. But I clearly wasn't done. Something was calling to me. I don't know if it's God or somebody was calling me saying, I've got to get back in because this new technology is going to help families. And I saw it because in 2015, when I was running care, I wrote a business plan called My Adam, and he's our youngest son. Because I was trying to figure out ways with a 5, 4, and 2-year-old, right? How are you just navigating life every day? It's a lot of work. And you are stressed, and you're not only trying to work full-time, but you're also unpaid work at home, trying to manage all that, the cognitive load on you. And yet technology can solve a lot of that. So how could I retire from the care industry? How could I not continue my experience, my passion, and my love for this, even though I was exhausted from being in that industry? So I jumped back in.
Well, I'm so happy that you jumped back in. When things speak to your heart, it's hard to say no.
Yes. Right? And honestly, my team was like developers to families. They were totally confused by it.
I was going to ask. I was like, I wonder what the initial reactions were when you suggested that. Were they like, yeah?
Well, I have to say, because I work with such an incredible, heartfelt team, like my co-founder Kevin, he's young but full of wisdom, and he's all heart. He like meditates every day, and he's like only 29 years old, and he's full of wisdom. You know, it's just my whole team just said, of course we're going to prioritize families. It wasn't even a debate. Everyone just jumped back in because of the mission-driven people that I worked with at the company.
Right, and it's a learning process. I mean, you feel like when women, and I don't mean to generalize this, but as a mom and you're holding it down, but if you're off a little bit, there's a ripple effect, right? There are things that happen in your marriage. There are things that happen at the workplace, all across. There's that mental load that you talked about, and so I really do want to ask how the AI can help, or how AI, not the AI, can help alleviate the mental load that women are often carrying.
Yeah, so what's interesting about our MVP, again, is to focus on families, and I prioritize, just like at CARE, we called it the Chief Household Officer. And the reason for that is many of you are men, or they in the audience, right? You could decide that you are your Chief Household Officer, and it's not always the women. But we saw at CARE, right, that 90% of the members that looked for caregivers were actually moms. And that cognitive load is real. So just like at CARE, where I said CARE is the work that makes all work possible, because it is the care economy that actually drives our economy, if you think about it. We spend millions and billions of dollars filling potholes to solve the roads so people can go to work. But you actually don't even need to get in your car if you don't have great care at home, because you can't leave your loved ones, so you can't actually go to work. So in similar vein, even though I'm in the AI space, I talk a lot about the economy that it impacts, especially to focus on productivity of the family. On average, moms work 4.6 hours per day unpaid. Forget the fact that we're 85 cents on the dollar at work, okay? So we're not paid for that administrative labor. Now, of course, we love our children, we love our families, but it is still a lot of work, especially if you're working a full-time job. We estimate that if you free up just 1 hour of labor at home, and if it was paid, it is equivalent for women that work, 44% of the population, $1 trillion of GDP. That level of productivity. So I decided, hey, of course I had this calling. So much of technology and generative AI was trying to solve productivity at work, but how about productivity at home?
Right.
That it would unleash incredible economic value to actually really help women. And then the second part is, I have to say, part of my sabbatical, I went to Burning Man. I know it's very strange to kind of be open and say that. I spent 2 to 3 years on my mental health. Wow. I really did. Not only did I meditate, I got into holotropic breath work, and offline I could talk about some other things, not to be named on stage. But I really worked a lot on my own mental health, of what was important and how I could free up my heart to take whatever is here every day, especially after high education. We spend a lot of time here. But how do we get down here to find our calling of what we want to do in life? But the only way to do that is to free up the clutter in our brain and to really follow this. Mm-hmm. And so even though I'm in AI, I talk a lot about humanity now and how to actually get to here.
Fascinating. I have a friend at work, and I think he's been trying to convince me to go to Burning Man. He's like, don't go for the trendy outfits. You got to go so that you touch base with what's within.
There's a lot here. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around the work to get to here. And just quickly, I just came from a conference, Makers Conference, and I had a very different talk. So I fulfilled that talk. We will talk about AI in the workplace. We will talk about that. I mean, the home. So we'll definitely do that. But I want to say, part of the reason I'm doing this again, weirdly, is in this journey in the last 3 years, the first thing you've got to solve is ask yourself, what is your source of love in your life? That's the first. That's my papa. That's my grandmother. To some extent, I had a difficult relationship with my mother, but I love her, right? And I had to go through all this mental health journey to find those sources of love. And why? Because the sources of love conquer your shadows. Your fear, your guilt, your anger, your pride, your shame. And when you conquer those shadows, and those shadows come up everywhere, at work, at home, as an entrepreneur, everything that you do. And so you go back to those sources of love, right? To actually conquer those shadows. And as you fill your heart with that love, that true connection that you have with people, that becomes your calling to actually be the light to serve others in whatever you do. And as Filipinos, one of our key strengths I have found in this journey that I did for 3 years is we prioritize love, family, and that's why we're one of the most nurturing cultures. A majority of us have such a benefit. Not all Filipinos are surrounded with that. There's a lot of people that have difficulty. But in our culture, the emphasis of a devotion to love and family is an incredible source of power to actually serve others. It is so strong in our culture that you got to take advantage of it. So I know we'll talk about tech, but every day I'm in AI. But this new revolution is that if we don't put our heart and humanity in this new technology, it will impact us. It will impact us.
So it's not an either or. You go technology, AI, and you lose humanity. You're saying it's actually you're marrying.
You're marrying
both,
because in some sense you are training the algorithm to think, process, infer, like a human.
And I want to touch on that because as in the intro, AI is everywhere, right? Everybody's talking about it. Not everybody has signed up for it and has trusted it. And so, I do want to know, what are the challenges or risks in adopting AI for caring for the home?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of public speaking because women fear AI. How many of you are actually using AI now? That's great. So keep using it because it's a highly educated group. I went to Jacksonville, Florida, and I spoke to a room of 300 African American women who are afraid. Many are afraid of AI. I didn't have as many hands go up because there's either a distrust or a fear of technology, not really clear what it's doing for them. And so if you're not actually in it, we're not training the algorithm to think in diverse terms, right? And I go to a lot of women's events to say, use the tools. And that includes all tools. Includes imaging, it includes text. All of it's going to matter because the algorithm starts to actually, provide outcomes that are biased because we're training it. And the trillion and trillion of data that's being used has been written mostly by white people that has trained the current set of algorithms. And so this is our moment to actually, as immigrants, minorities, women, a lot of pretty much diverse populations, to participate in it, to actually start to train the algorithm and where it's headed. So I do a lot around what we call AI for all, to participate in it, especially now, the developer tools. You actually don't even know, you don't even have to actually know how to code to build websites now, to actually use the tools. So in some sense, it's actually becoming easier and easier to have it be accessible for all.
It's like we're rewriting the old books, but not really. I mean, we're putting ourselves in a position where we may have a seat at the table. We'll have that, right?
Absolutely.
Versus the years and generations of not even getting to that seat.
And and good governance, and to not be afraid. It's sort of like going into a country and sometimes there's a foreign language and it intimidates you.
Mm-hmm.
But yet if you have it in your heart to actually really check it out, you want to, learn, have a beginner's mind, be curious, ask a lot of questions, just get in there and participate, right? And not fear it. And I actually think developers, especially tech people, there's a lot of fear. I just came from Necker Island, and there was an AI summit, and it was bringing leaders from around the world. They actually asked me to do the closing speech, and I'm not a technologist. They had so many engineers there, from like Cerebras, NVIDIA, you name it. But they wanted the topic at the very end to be about humanity. So I did the closing speech to talk about how important it is both to be diverse as women and minorities, but to infuse humanity into what we're doing in this where we're going with new technology.
Yeah, that is, to hear from someone that is behind an AI company but has that, the connection to humanity as part of it, I think for other people who may be a little bit hesitant, I mean, that's really important. That's got to connect with them.
If you think about a lot of the tools that are being built, it is trying to displace our creativity. I decided that the mundane task of every day is what OHI is going to handle. Mm-hmm. To scan all your emails so you don't miss picture day, you don't miss an event.
Orange color day.
Yeah, schools aren't user-friendly. They really aren't. They're sending you like 12-page newsletters, and they expect you to figure out that 8-9 font little thing you're supposed to figure out.
Oh my God, Sheila, you're speaking my language, yeah.
And I hear this all the time.
Yeah.
There are so many apps now. How many of you use 4 or 5 communication apps? Okay, and you have no idea what attachment got sent to Slack or WhatsApp or an email. I can't even figure out anymore, right? So OHI is actually streamlining a lot of these things. Scanning emails, summarizing, conflict resolution on calendars. Why do we not send holiday cards anymore? Because we don't have time. Mm-hmm. And you know how important it is to all of us to do that, to show people that you love them and keep up with the addresses? OHI takes care of all of that. So it's moving in the direction of really removing all the things that gives us no excuse to spend our time on the stuff that matters, which is not technology. It's actually looking into people's eyes, spending time with the people that we love, and just being. You get to draw. You get to do art. You get to have meals with your families, as opposed to wasting a lot of this time being distracted by technology.
Wonderful. Are we good on to, I can't read that, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, we don't have any more time. 5 more minutes. I'm sorry. I wanted to end on the source of love, because that really speaks to me, and I'm sure whether you are a student at Berkeley or whether you are a struggling mom or whatever it is, right? You are constantly looking for that source of love. I don't have time for a sabbatical to work on my mental health.
Okay.
Can you please give me some tips? What can I do every day, every once a week, whatever, that may help me tap into that?
Yeah, I've really changed my lifestyle a lot. I used to I still am high energy and trying to catch up on sleep and trying to be there for a lot of people, but the number one person I have to be there for is me. okay? And that means you do have to devote at least an hour to 2 hours for yourself on two things. One, exercise. And I know it sounds pretty, you have to take care of you and your body, okay? But it's funny, we spend so much time on physical exercise on our body. The second place to actually emphasis of mental. You have to devote to it. So I do about 40 minutes of holotropic breath work every day. People think it's crazy, but it is a meditative thing that I do that goes deep. It's as deep as if you are on plant medicine. It is as effective as plant medicine, and it is incredible. It brings you to your somatic as quickly as possible. It takes about 20 minutes to get there. And the technique around holotropic breath work is to remember how to really clear your mind. But it is training to trust your body, because your body never lies. Your body is always in the presence. You know, a lot of meditation is trying to train you to be and to be here and now. To learn to be there is to actually trust your body, because your body is not in the future, it is not in the past. It is simply here. And when I say trust your body will tell you when you're uncomfortable, when you're nervous, when this doesn't feel right, intuitive, you just feel it, right? So breath work is really deep breath work to clear your mind and to understand where your body is. So you have a sense constantly, wherever you go, even when your eyes are open, where your body is. What's your truth, I call it. And you get to that truth quickly, and you heal yourself in this breath work. You think about your sources of love, you conquer your shadows, and every moment you have fear or guilt, or if you're having a conversation, you go back to that and you start to realize your body is telling you your truth. And that's why you do that daily exercise. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Beautiful conversation. I really enjoyed that conversation, Sheila.
Thanks for having
me. Before
me.
you go, we would like to, and I don't think we'll be able to do this with our other speakers.
Can I just say, as Filipinos, just be the light for people. You already are. Find your truth and just be there to just serve people. That's really just my message. AI, all of it's great, but at the end of the day, is just be there for people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. What a pleasure. I think Carissa has a little something for you. If you could stay on stage.
Our Adarna advocate and uplifting the community in ways only you can. Bear with me, but this is symbolic for all of us that we uplift each other up. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Maybe I'll see you at Burning Man at some point. Can I get a hug too? Oh, thank you.